Hi everyone, Robbo here. You're listening to the Blues Focus podcast. Keep right on.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the Blues Focus podcast. Before we get into today's podcast, I'd just like to give a big shout out to our current patrons. And if you'd like to join these names in the brand new Blues Focus Hall of Fame, you can join our Patreon page for just £1 a month. Perks included will be monthly giveaways and early access to guest pods. The link will be in the description anyway for our Patreon packages. Well, that's enough from me. Let's get straight into today's Blues Focus podcast. Thank you for joining us as always.
Hello and welcome to Blues Focus podcast with me, your host, John Graham. Once again, many thanks for taking the time to download this pod. Wherever you're downloading it from, you can pretty much download it wherever you want these days. We're becoming that big. I think it's just for the back of just an amazing run of results, but we're all flying the flag at the moment. And if you're watching on YouTube, then please subscribe. We'll take this beyond the season because we enjoy it. I think you enjoy it as well. So long may that continue. And yet again, we're coming with positive vibes. So we've gone from weeks and weeks of utter shit to just beyond belief, I guess, results and some really solid performances. So before we get into it, Carl, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, good, mate. Buzzing, absolutely buzzing.
Top man. And Tom, I see that your bruises from the last pod have gone down a little bit. So they've died.
Yeah, the eye's all good now.
So okay, let's get involved. So wow, here we are again. As I said, this seems to be a bit Groundhog Day, but in a very, very good way. So, we won't break with tradition, and it's probably got a different label.
Hi Birmingham fans, this is Jamie at Fans Favourite. We produce football scarves inspired by classic shirt designs, and we're the new sponsor of the Blues Focus podcast. We're offering you 10% off using the promo code BluesFocus10. Our latest Birmingham City scarf is inspired by the classic kit worn for part of the 1992 season. We know this is a bit of a Marmite shirt amongst Blues fans, but we see the beauty in all shirts. Go check it out at www.fansfavourite.co.uk.
So, Tom, Bowyer Bingo, what did you think at 11 o'clock on Sunday when it came out?
Reasonably happy. I'm still a bit sad not to see Bella and Sanchez more involved, but I understand that they just don't work in the system we're playing right now. But it was obviously nice later on in the game to see Sanchez get some minutes. But now overall, with the lineup that came out, I was quite happy. I was really happy to see McGree at number 10. Actually, I was quite excited for that. I don't think it delivered to expectation, but I think that was just down to the way Rotherham played. But we'll certainly touch upon that. So no, I was quite hopeful. I was mainly excited about McGree at Cam, but surprised to see Nico starting again. However, I think he was okay. But no, overall, I was quite happy with the lineup. I thought it was good to see us kind of sticking with the same defensive unit, make sure they're getting that chemistry there. So no, I was quite happy.
Carl, you happy with it as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of just it would just basically kind of repeat everything Tom just fucking said, really. It's it was the bulk of the team was the same. I think we all kind of knew that McGree was going to get in because of Halilovic's injury. And after the way that he played the previous game in that second half, you can't really scoff at his admission to the starting 11. Good to see Seds getting a run of games as well, and that's continuing at sort of left wing back. But yeah, I don't think there was anything hugely surprising. It was good to see Amari Miller on the bench again as well.
Yeah.
I know he didn't obviously get on, but it's still good to have that option of a bit of pace and youth from the bench. But yeah, no real surprises. Fairly happy with it. Was fairly confident going into the game and thought, yeah, we've got this.
Yeah. I think from my point of view, obviously, Rotherham had some, fairly sketchy results. Those sort of games in hand were dwindling sort of, as the days went by. And obviously, Cov, I suppose in hindsight, did us a favour. And I think that, again, 3 clean sheets on the spin going into the game. There were never, he probably wasn't going to change it up too much. For you, McGree, I felt was more than worthy of his spot. The only thing I would say is he played so well, and he's played so well on that left-hand side. I'd probably left him in that position. But we have said, maybe as a cam he could do a job. And obviously with Hogan on the bench, Lecco getting the nod is a big shout. Maybe Hogan probably wasn't quite ready off the back of his injury, but I think all things being equal, probably we for a change we probably would have got it sort of about there, with maybe Sed's not coming in for somebody else. But I think other than that, the side pretty much picked itself in recent weeks. So obviously we're on the crest of a wave. We've had a decent rest with a lot of time to think about what we're going to do and how we're going to approach it. Rotherham not so strong. So Carl, thoughts on the first half?
I think we started well. I think for maybe the first sort of 10 or 15 minutes, I wouldn't say we were necessarily looking good, but I think we were moving it all right. We were causing threats. I mean, Dukey headed over, was it like 40 seconds?
Yeah.
From the start of the game. I think we looked right. Now I don't know, the balance sort of shifted, and I think it kind of shifted when I think Rotherham had that effort where he turned Peds and put it. Well, it was a lot wider than it actually looked initially, and I think that kind of gave them a bit of confidence.
Yeah.
And I think we let them come on to us a little bit too much. We moved the ball quite slowly. We weren't first to these second balls like we have been over the last sort of 5 games. And it's quite disappointing to see. And, I know it's hard to look back and say that it was disappointing to see when we were so used to that kind of shit over the last season. But, I think we've already come to expect a certain level of Bowyer's teams. Maybe that's us getting a bit carried away, maybe. But yeah, I just think it just lacked energy. And there were times where you wouldn't have thought that Rotherham had played like 3 games in the week before that. There wasn't really, defensively, I think we did all right. We were quite solid, but there wasn't really anyone, bar maybe Lecco, who seemed to be running his arse off again up the top. There wasn't really anyone for me that stood out in that first half. I think McGree, it just didn't work for him for whatever reason. He was involved in a couple of bits and pieces, but he just seemed a little bit lost.
Yeah.
Sed's getting involved, proper putting himself around, and it's good to see him have a battle with obviously Wes Harding on that right, which I thought was quite interesting. But yeah, it was just, we weren't losing at halftime, I guess, which is the plus there.
Yeah. But
it just wasn't. It wasn't the Blues we've come to know over the last few games. And obviously that bubble was always going to fucking burst at some point. But it just, I don't know, it was almost like we hadn't quite punished them in that opening 15, 20 minutes like we maybe should have. And they were a bit taken aback by the way that Rotherham came back at them and kind of, not quite deer in headlights, but it looked like they were a little bit kind of tentative to go for it.
Yeah. And before I sort of say my piece and come on to Tom to have his say, I think it's really important that, it has been amazing. There's no doubt about it. And, at the end of the day, we got a result this time around. But, we're still supporters. We've watched the game, and, they can't be, it can't be a complete loving all the time.
No.
Because you got to say it as it is. And ultimately, I think if we're gonna feel the need for a bit of criticism, then they shouldn't be. They shouldn't sort of be absorbed of any criticism just because of the way it's going. Having said that, Tom, as you sort of saw the first half sort of develop, were your thoughts same as Carl, or did you see anything different?
Very similar. I think the key probably sentence I suppose to put out there was I was brought back to fucking earth. That's for sure. Just, I don't know. It wasn't, I obviously expected us to be a bit better, but I didn't expect us to be as poor as I think we probably were. I thought defensively we were quite solid. I think it was just going forward that their relentless pressure, which by the way, how they managed to keep that up, having played as many games they played recently, was fair play. Fair players. That's all I have to say. They were committed to the cause. And they didn't, if you looked at that game, you'd have thought we were the side that had just played 2 games in the last 3 days. So, it was fair play to them, but we just struggled going forward. However, on that, in that first half, I think we should have had a penalty, and I'd have been really gutted if we'd been cost. I suppose if we'd lost the game, or even if we drawed, I'd have been frustrated because we should have had a penalty. But I'm glad that we obviously got the result in the end. But no, for me, that was more Stonewall than the one we got against Swansea. That was a very similar challenge. Just so happened to be from Wes Harding, ex-Blues. Of course, he's not going to go, "Oh, sorry, lads, it was a foul, it was a pen," as much as we'd like him to. And then I'm sure I'd love to sign him back if he did that. But no, it's one of them, obviously. We're Birmingham City. The odds of those being given for us are always very slim. So I wasn't expecting much, to be honest. However, I thought defensively overall in that first half, we were very solid, but I was certainly brought back down to earth with the way we played when going forward. And Rotherham surprised me, really surprised me. If they play like that for the rest of the season, I think they have every chance of staying up.
Yeah. No, mate, I think that's a brilliant point. And for what it's worth, I hope they do stay up. I do. I think they're a genuine club.
Derby go down. That's what we want.
Yeah, I don't. To be honest, I don't give a shit. It goes down as long as it's not us.
Yeah.
But no, I really like the way they went about it. It wasn't massively long ball. We were probably more sort of guilty of that sort of more direct play. I think there was a couple of things that really they were sort of polarised a little bit. Because when you look at a midfield of Seddon, Sunjic, Gardner, and who was on the right side?
Max.
Yeah. There's just not a lot there as far as retaining the ball, moving off the ball. For me, you take the previous game, you got Halilovic on one side and McGree on the other. That's some good, they're good footballers. And I just think that at times he'll never say it because I think we've been gushing about, his attitude of going to win every game. And I have no doubt that, of course, he wanted to win the game. I just think it was that a point was really good for us. And I think after those first 20 minutes, I mean, we're all saying it, so they were probably the same. Massively surprised the way that Rotherham found the gears that they did to really put it on us all the time. And that's the problem when you're pressurising players that aren't comfortable on the ball. You're going to get found out. And I think that's where we did get found out. We just didn't have enough people that, like a Harper, that can just probably take the ball in difficult scenarios, or when someone's closing down, have the sort of the mindset and the brain to move the ball a little bit quicker than maybe Gardner and Sunjic can. So, yeah, I mean, we started brightly. If we're being honest, they had the lion's share of the first half. I think they had some okay chances without being, it reminded me a bit of us under Karanka. There was no real gilt-edged chances. But they definitely, I think, had the lion's share of the first half. Thought we defended great. I think there is one major issue that's developing where when a ball gets played into the channel and our two wing backs are advanced, the three are staying within the confines of the area. So if you imagine there's sort of three in a line at the edge of the box, ball comes into the channel. You've got somebody advanced, and then Roberts on a couple of occasions, he just stood his ground. So you've just got somebody bearing into the box without any real pressure on the ball. And I think that might be a system thing. It might be a calculated risk perspective from Bowyer, but it's happened a few times now. And I think in that system, it will, unless your wing backs are maybe a little bit more defensively minded, or we don't lose the ball in advanced positions, which we were. So, yeah, but I think Rotherham were good value. I wouldn't, I don't think we could have had too many complaints if we'd been 1-0 down at the end of the first half. So, Tom, going into the second half, I guess where were your thoughts? Were you expecting a change? And if so, who would you have brought on, or how did you think it was going to play out?
I was expecting a change, yeah. I was expecting us to be more on the front foot, or at least show a bit more commitment, a bit more desire. Maybe we could do that with a more attacking substitution, which I was certainly hoping for. And that it came a bit late on for me when we brought on Ivan Sanchez in the end to try and liven things up. But I don't think that did the required job, to be honest, for at least until the last 5 minutes. But no, I certainly expected more, but I don't think we saw that. I think Rotherham still came out the hungrier side. However, around about the 60th, 65th minute, Rotherham started to finally tire a bit and we grew into the game. And I think we had at least 10 minutes of a decent spell from Blues. And then after that, it became more even, but no real pressuring spells. Rotherham started to resort to more long range efforts through players like Lewis Wing, who we all know packs a punch if you watch Middlesbrough play at St Andrews this season. So yeah, no, it was that before we actually scored, I thought the period was on and off the second half, really. However, I must say on our shape, I think we yet again went into the game looking to match Rotherham again, like we have done with teams. You know, we've played the 5-3-2, and Rotherham play 3-5-2. So it's very similar formations. Rotherham slightly more attacking, and that showed. But I don't think we took advantage of the weaknesses they had out wide, which is why I honestly think playing a 4-4-2 might have actually suited us better in that game, because we'd have had more wide players like Bella and Sanchez, who really could have hurt the wide areas of Rotherham that were quite exposed. But instead, we ended up being the exposed ones in the wide areas. Like when you watch players like Ladapo come forward, you were constantly shitting yourself because he was getting out wide in those in that particularly that left area, and it was worrying because he was cutting inside successfully. He could easily switch sides. He was 2-footed. You just felt like he was going to cut inside at some point and bang one top bin. That was sort of the worry we had. But no, I thought it was good to see more commitment from players like Jonathan Nico, who I think he just lacks the clinical edge at the moment with his passes and his shooting. He just needs to find his feet in that sense. But overall, his work rate was top notch, which is better than what we've seen, where he's kind of shrugging his shoulders a bit, heads are a bit down. We're seeing more from him, which is good. We need to see that, and I think I feel like from now it can only really progress and go up for him. So hopefully that is the case. But no, coming on to the last 5 minutes, really, I thought we were a lot better. We weren't, blowing Rotherham out of the water, but in the end, we just took our chance, which is what Rotherham failed to do. And I think that, I was expecting another Mardy manager, opposing manager interview, to be honest, afterwards, but we didn't really see that. I thought Warren was very honest in the fact that, we played a certain way and it worked, and they played well, but they didn't take their chances, whereas we did. Yeah. And it's another great ball from Mark Roberts, who's clearly David Beckham now. Pedersen's got a little flick on and it's landed nicely for Dean. And then obviously a little nick off the Rotherham defender to just tip it that little extra bit over the keeper, who in fairness to him was hard to beat in that game. And he was hard to beat against Coventry as well. So then their keeper's been on fire in the last couple of games, so it was always going to be tough to beat them. But then I thought we were solid seeing the game out. I thought we did that really well, and that's been one of my favourite things under Bowyer since he came in. I obviously feel nervous because we've got to sit through it, but we look so much more comfortable defending Leeds, which is big for us because we have one of the worst records for holding on to Leeds. So to come in and change that again, fantastic from Bowyer. If he hasn't already done an amazing job enough from his record, little things like that is also a big praise.
Yeah, and Cole, just as that second half developed, you the same mindset of quite disappointed, or do you think the game plan was to maybe, as Tom said, after an hour they've got to tire? Yeah. They've got to, it's like, do you think we're waiting for that? Do you think that was a game plan, or?
I think Bowyer will probably fucking claim it as a tactical masterclass, and that's exactly what we were trying to do. I think we were just. It comes back to the first. I think we were just shocked by their intensity. Maybe that was the message, but it was just disappointing to not. I agree with Tom. I was expecting an earlier substitution. And I would have thought the switch to 4-4-2 would have been right. Get Bella on, get Sanchez on, even if you're doing it after the 65th minute mark. Because they've got. Bella hasn't played for 3 or 4 weeks now. He's got to be fresh. Do you know what I mean? There's no way he isn't. I'd like to. Like I said, I'm pretty sure Bowyer will claim it, and I'd like to think that was our game plan, maybe. But I think it's still, it is still disappointing that we couldn't quite find that top gear that we have found, certainly against Stoke. We were phenomenal against Stoke in that second half.
Yeah.
And it was just really disappointing to not hit that kind of level again. But then teams do have days like that. That's football, isn't it? One week you're Barcelona, the next minute you're Accrington Stanley. It's no offense to Accrington Stanley, by the way, there before we fucking get abuse for that. But I think ultimately we went out there to do a job, which was get at least a point in that second half. If we could nick it, we'll nick it, and we did, which I'm really happy about because that paid for a few beers afterwards. And I cashed out really quickly in case they tried to claim it as an own fucking goal as well. But I think, and then again, I agree with Tom, the game management, once we've got that lead, is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Players were everywhere, making sure that they were keeping their shape, doing their job. I just think that, I definitely think they probably got a bit of a Bowyer bollocking at halftime as well, I think. But yeah, I mean, disappointing, but ultimately we got 3 points and that's all that matters at this stage now. Is it doesn't matter how we got those 3 points, we got them. I think he said in his press conference afterwards, we've got the summer to fucking work on shape and fucking gameplay and shit like that. So
did he say it like that?
He didn't know. That's my interpretation.
That's his journalistic talent, really bringing it to life.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I thought our manager was Mike Bassett for a second there.
I would love Bowyer to have gone Mike Bassett, but but yeah, and I agree with him. We'll get to the summer. Let's stay in the Championship, and then we can worry about style of football and the way we play games then. Good to see Sanchez back from injury, I think. And I think he has got a bit of a part to play. Same with Bella eventually, he will chuck him on at some point, I think. But yeah, ultimately, we got another Harley Dean header. He's got to be second top scorer or near joint top scorer by now at this point.
He's 2 goals off it.
Is he? Yeah, I thought he'd be there or thereabouts. And like you say, Mark Roberts has suddenly got a wand of a fucking foot. So don't know where that's come from. But yeah, ultimately it's 3 points.
Yeah, and I think that the lots of passages of play in that, first and second half were a little bit reminiscent of Karanka, albeit we always look a lot more competitive, I think, a lot more less lethargic, and everybody's putting his shift in. But I think the difference now is because everybody knows their job. I think that those hard luck stories that he used to have when we'd be 1-0 up and he'd make changes, and then he couldn't believe we concede 2 goals really quickly. Just by going mega defensive, he couldn't get his head around it. We've all heard it. It was that I don't understand why. We're 1-0 up, brought some players on. We were just unlucky with a better side. Most of that was total bollocks. But I think the point is now the game management is that good, and I think because they are so used to doing what they do, that's what they remember now. How many individual mistakes has there been in recent weeks?
Well, yeah. Fuck all.
Do you know what I mean? And it was 1, 2, 3 a game. Okay, not everyone was going to necessarily lead to a goal, but a lot of them did. I think Etheridge had a bit of a fucking mad moment at one point in the game. But I suppose he's a keeper. He's entitled to that because he's been outstanding for the last ever since Bowyer's been in. So, I think there's definitely an example of that consistency of selection around the three at the back and the Sunjic and the Gardner. When it comes to the Alamo, like he did after we scored, they know what they're doing. And you're much less likely to make mistakes when the fucking players know their jobs. And that was a problem to Karanka. If the players don't know what they're doing, they're shitting themselves and not confident, they concede goals. And that, you look at our points tally now, and I guess we'll go on to where we think it could be. We're still like, I think it's 24 points lost from winning positions. And you add half of those to where we're at. Okay, it's not quite playoffs, but I think that's where this squad is. It feels like a 12th to 10th type of squad, a bit like Rowett. They're not good enough for the top 6, but I think they are more than good enough for top half. And, we're in the league table. We're second, aren't we, at the moment, since Bowyer took charge?
Exactly. And I have to say really quickly, by the way, I forgot what I was going to say now. But yeah, no, actually.
We'll say really quickly then.
You look at the teams that go up in this division, they can have a bad performance, but they still find a way to win. And if we can keep up that mentality, then there is every chance we can push for a top 10 next season. And also, it has to be said, we've actually not dropped any points from a winning position yet under Bowyer. We've not dropped any points at all, really, from when we've been controlling a game or in the lead. So to change that already, considering we were one of the worst, is crazy.
Yeah, and I just think that, there's signs. We talked about Lecco in the last pod. I'd wholeheartedly agree with. I think you said, Tom, that his endeavour and his attitude seemed to be different, which I would definitely. Yeah, I think he was a different sort of a different player. Wasn't getting caught offside quite as much. There was a couple of times, but nowhere near as bad as the previous game. He needs a pre-season. I think that's the only time we can make a real judgment call. He's had horrific injuries, with the on and off with COVID. I think the excuses go out the window within the first 12 games of next season. He needs to make an impact during that period. I think if Hogan's fit, I think he struggles to get in. If I'm being honest, I don't see how you can maybe pick him ahead of Hogan if you're playing the two up top, because I think they work really well together. But it's good that I think he's responded to probably a lot of criticism. I certainly criticised him, and I just think overall we're probably due. It wasn't great, and with that side, to be brutally honest, in my opinion, that starting 11, it's not dynamic enough to win a lot of football games, but it will do a job for certain football games, and it certainly did that on Sunday. So, again, you can't knock him. I'd rather have a lucky manager than an amazing manager that there's loads of hard luck stories. Fuck that, we've had that before. So yeah, a massive 3 points for us, and if we're not safe, then fuck me, we're very, very close to being safe. One thing,
could be 14th after Wednesday.
Well, you called it a long time ago, mate. You called 15th about 6 weeks ago, and I tell you what, with the games that we've got, I don't think you're going to be far off the mark. I genuinely hope, and we'll come on to the Forest game in a minute, I really want to get to that automatic position quickly so we can start to tinker a little bit. Because, if we get to 51, I don't really give a fuck as long as we stay up. But I think for me, 51 points, let's get Miller in. Let's get Simmons in. Let's get fucking Hilalovic back. Let's change a few things. Let's use
Bailey.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. Absolutely. So, it's really exciting times. My one thing about next season, and I want to say it now because Martin Granger made a really good point on Twitter, and it's probably not the most popular thing to say, but I agree with him 100%, and I've said it before. Now, not even I can knock Harley Dean because he has been man of the match in every Sky game that we've had since Bowie's been there, and rightly so. He scored critical goals, and he was a really nice touch with Harding after the game. He really sort of embraced each other, just showed a bit of a different character to Dean. But what I would say is, where the fuck would we have been if we hadn't sacked Karanka? Now, I know that's hypothetical, but let's be honest. If they hadn't fucking gone over the top of Dong's head, he'd still be there, and we'd be in the fucking shit.
Yeah.
And we'd
honestly, 23rd. That's where I
we'd be
believe
in the
we'd be.
shit because players like Dean didn't want to play for him. Now, that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. But I would hope that, again, what happens when Bowyer's message isn't getting across? Because he's not going to be manager forever. It doesn't happen, does it? What's the lifespan of a manager in the Championship? 2 seasons?
It's 2 years, yeah.
So, at the end of next season, if we don't, if it's not a fucking stellar season, he might start to lose the dressing room. Then what? They're down tools again. For me, and I've said it consistently, so I'm not being a shithouse. You can't have players that do that. Rotherham didn't fucking do it, did they? They've got all the excuses under the sun. Small club, 8 games, COVID coming out the fucking arses, the whole lot. They've had everything. They could have just capitulated. They were the better side with players nobody's heard of. And that's what you need as a manager. And for me, I'll give Dean, he's been one of the main reasons we've just got 13 points in a very, very short period of time. But I'm sorry, I go back to Wickham, I go back to Coventry, I go back to Luton when we were fucking abject Middlesbrough, Derby. So, I think, it's great and it's fantastic and fair play to him. And it was the same at the end of last season. I send it under Pep. When Pep was given the can, he was still managing. They fucking down tools and they shitted it. And they said, oh, fuck it, we're fine. Those characters come back when the tough gets going. And I hope Bowyer can either have a strong word and say, look, this is it. Or seriously, fuck them off. Because this is a time to start again. And it might sound harsh. I'm not digging him out. I'm just saying it as I see it. Because we've become a stellar team in fucking 2 months. Second best side in the league in what? Less than 2 months?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
last chance saloon now for a lot of those players.
Yeah, mate. Lots and lots of soul searching and fucking answers. Questions to be answered in that off season because it's not acceptable. It isn't acceptable. So that's all I'm going to say on that. So moving on to, chance to, I guess, go further up the table. Ex-Blues manager in charge. I think we probably wanted him at one point, didn't we, again?
Yeah, probably.
Done a good job.
Yeah.
So, Tom, go to you first. I mean, just around, I guess, what Chris has done with Forest and then looking at the way that they've been playing and I guess, are we going to match up again? Do you see any changes? How do you think it's going to play out?
I think we'll see a few changes for this one. Actually, I do think we'll change our style. Do you know what? I've hoped for us to change the formation and just attack teams a bit more. If it was ever going to happen, I actually think it might be this game if we want to match teams because Forest don't play 5 at the back or 3 at the back like the recent teams we've played. They do play 4 at the back. They are a very a bit more traditional side under Houghton. Houghton keeps things quite simple, doesn't overcomplicate it. He can play, he likes to play 4-4-1-1 or most predominantly he likes his 4-3-3. So more than likely, I think we'll see a 4-3-3. But there's a lot of quality in that Forest squad on paper. That's always been the case. And do you know what? It's been weird. It's been weird the job he's done. You have to praise it because it is a good job. But it's just gone so quietly. They've not really had like we are on now. We're on a good run of form. They never had a good run of form. It was more of a win-loss sort of thing. So that I feel like that's why it went under the radar and they've just silently climbed to safety. Because at one point, I remember when they were 21st in like December. So, no, it's crazy the turnaround he's done there. And it's very impressive. And it has gone under the radar just because that's probably been their biggest problem, consistency. And that showed that they've still got weaknesses when they lost to Huddersfield at home, which on paper is a game they should not lose. And they have. They've been outclassed. And Forest have had those games this season. And although they've become a bit more, they've got a few more results in them now under Houghton, they still have similar problems to what they had before.
Yeah.
And that's virtually, it's almost still the same side, bar Matty Cash, that were 7th last season. So it's still a good squad, but they've just really struggled to gel this season because Forest's big problem is they always sign too many fucking players. And it just messes things up. And then anyone who doesn't work out is off to Olympiacos because of the owner. So it's a weird one at Forest. I don't think they have the same mentality and positivity that we have right now, but they do still have a good man at the helm in Chris Houghton who knows how to get out of this division. So it's certainly not going to be an easy game, but I certainly favour us going into the game for sure. We just got to play it right. And I think 4-4-2 would be the best time to use this actually. 4-4-2 style and bring back in those wingers and be a bit more unpredictable again.
Yeah, I don't know whether he will. I don't know whether where we're at the moment he'll go with the wingers. He hasn't done it yet. I think he might go with one of them. I think, but I just don't. I think he's going to stay Mr. Pragmatic from now to the end of the season. Maybe with a few, as I said, if we can win on Wednesday, then maybe he'll change. Carl, what do you think? Do you fancy our chances, or is it going to be a little bit after the Lord Mayor's show? 48 points, fuck it. We're pretty safe. How do you think it'll go?
I fancy our chances purely because Forest are massively inconsistent. I think he will change it purely because Bowyer has already come out and said that he hates the sort of the weekend, Wednesday night, Saturday games.
Yeah.
So we will probably look at a couple, I think. Whether or not he tries to match Forest with a 4-3-3 would be interesting because I don't think we've really tried that this season.
No.
And I think if you've got potentially Sanchez and Bella wide of, say, Hogan or Duke, I mean, I guess Duke because you'd expect those two to cross the balls in for him, it would be something a bit different, something we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
But I definitely think we'll see some changes because, you know, we still need to keep fresh. Like we've got Forest, we've got Derby, I think it's straight after Forest, isn't it? I think at the weekend.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see changes. I think we've got a good chance because I think the good thing about a last minute winner, if you're winning games, you've got momentum. But a last minute winner like that, which let's face it, was a bit of a shithouse win for us, it actually carries through that momentum, you know, because they'll like, well, we didn't play well last time and won, but we're going to be able to step it up this game. And I think there will be a little bit of pressure off them, a little bit. I think they will feel a little bit kind of, we're nearly on our fucking summer holiday, but I think they'll think they can win it. And yeah, I mean, I feel that there's a belief coming off the team, and I think I've said it before, that they think they can fucking beat anyone right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And brilliant. Let's carry that through. You know, let's have a really strong finish to the season. But yeah, I think Forest are definitely there for the taking. And I think, to be fair, I think even if we get a fucking point out of it, I think we're probably then. I think we're there. I mean, 50 points would be nice, but I think
I'll be happy when we're on 52. That's when I'll be happy.
But I think, you know, why not? You know, we got that goal. We're not playing great. Let's just see what it does formation-wise.
I just think that they think that they are safe, aren't they? So they're pretty much, you know, bulletproof. I think you're right. That momentum is massive, and I think it's twofold. It's threefold. We're not conceding, and we haven't conceded in 4. And I think, Tom, you're the stats man. I think that's the first time since
2011 under Chris Hughton.
It was under Chris Hughton, wasn't it? Yeah.
In October of 2011 was the last time we did that.
So, you know, nearly 10 years, which is unbelievable in that league. Unbelievable. So that's number one. Number two, we're winning, you know, and winning is, you know, it's just, you know, such a fantastic habit to get into when you walk onto that pitch. And I don't think and Carla, you've made the point, it doesn't really matter who he fucking picks. They just seem like, yeah, fine, fucking crack on. We'll beat anybody. I think the third thing is we've got a bit of luck, you know, finally. I think we've been a little bit hard done by a couple of times over the season. But I think they're earning the right and they're making their own luck for me, just by the graft. I mean, there was a couple of, even yesterday when they were off it a little bit, a couple of patterns of play where we were trying to break, we were really trying to close down, and the fucking tackles were flying in, and it was just what you want to see as a fan. And I think we've got a lot of our identity back, which is fantastic. Again, I wouldn't be adverse to a 4-3-3. I think we've probably got the right players to do that. And I think that's the only way that Bella and Sanchez play on the same side.
The last time we played that formation was Sheffield Wednesday away, and we won 1-0. So it's not like it wouldn't work. We could try.
No, and you know, Dukey, he's top of the world, isn't he? You know, he's fucking loving it. So he's getting loads of love. He's scoring goals, putting himself about a bit. If he's got two wingers with him, he'll love that. I think if you've got the three of maybe a Gardner Harper Sunjic scenario, it's really going to shore it up. You go with your three centre halves, albeit in a 4, and Chuck Collan in at right back. Feels like it feels like we've got that really robust block in front of the 4 with a bit of goal from Harper, and then just smash it into the channels to the wide men and see what we can do.
Get Mark Roberts at number 10.
Well, I mean, to be fair, mate, I know we've had a bit of fun with it, but his technique for the cross, fuck me.
I know.
I mean, that was a proper fucking delivery, that was. And, you know, I just think that I don't fancy us to lose at the moment, certainly against sides that, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to fucking say I thought we'd beat Watford. You know, in the grand scheme of things, I thought we'd struggle against Brentford. But when we got into this run, certainly with the style and the way they've been playing, then without doubt, I fully expected us to win yesterday, albeit it was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. Forest, I personally think it'll be a draw, and I think we'll go Derby. I do. I think Derby are there for the taking. I think they are shitting it. And we talk about momentum, they've got to go in the wrong fucking way. And at this time of the season, it ain't great because players don't want the ball. They do make mistakes. And Rooney isn't built for a fucking relegation battle. When was that time that fucker was in a relegation battle?
Derby's an interesting one as well because, they made 5 January signings and 4 of them have returned to their parent clubs because they were all loans. 4 of them have already returned to their parent clubs due to injury, and Mengi being the latest one, and he's been a good defender for them since he's come in. So they just keep losing players to injury. Since they lost Bielik, they lost how solid they were. So and Gregory had scored 3 and 5, and now he's gone back to Stoke because of injury. So they're just losing players to injury left, right, and centre. And you know what? I think a lot of that squad are being bottle jobs and just don't want to play. They just don't want to play.
It's like watching us last season at the end of last season. Yeah, with Derby.
Yeah. And you always need, like we said, you need a point of reference. You need experience in anything you do, and whether we like it or not, we've got plenty of fucking experience of avoiding the drop, albeit we've done it in different ways. Last year was a shower of shit, and this year's been a lot better. But yeah, I think as far as predictions, and I'll kick it off. I think it'll be one apiece on Wednesday, and I'll to be honest, I'll take that. I think Forest, any Chris Hughton side is going to be a tough one. I genuinely believe that. And as Tom, you rightly said, they've got some good players. On paper, is their squad better than ours? Arguably, it probably is. There might not be a lot in it, but I think I definitely take a draw and just take us that 1 point close to the 50 point mark. Carl, what do you think prediction wise?
Well, given that I predicted we'd beat Rotherham 5-0, I think I'll fucking run it in this time. Yeah, after you left
the call, I did say that was fucking optimistic.
Yeah, it fucking turned out like it, didn't it? No, I think we'll probably win 2-1. I think I'll go with. I think I get that Chris Hughton side are absolutely tough to beat, but I think right now we'll beat anyone. So yeah, I've got full confidence in them, in Bowyer, and what they're going to do, and yeah, 2-1. I reckon.
Fair dues. Tom?
We always beat Forest at home. I don't know why, but it's just one of those that we always seem to win.
Love it. You go back to 1974. We've played him 16 times, beat him 13, drawn 2, lost 1, whatever it fucking is.
Yeah, literally, they just don't win at St Andrews, and I think that's going to continue. Personally, I don't think they were that special when we played them before, and they were under Hughton then. And we managed to get a 0-0 draw, and we were under bloody Karanka. So I think there's every chance. Mind you, however, they do perform better away from home than they do at home this season.
Yeah.
I take that into consideration. However, I'm going to back the boys, and he's got 100% win record at St Andrews so far, and that's with 3 games already. And I'm going to back him for another. So 3-1 Blues.
Fair play. And before I forget, obviously the patented stroke trademarks owned Blues Focus. Dream pick, Carl.
I'm going to go with Bella. I think that'll be my dream pick. I've always had an issue with Bella defensively, always. But I think we've missed his pace and at times his delivery. And I just think that he just gives us something a little bit different. It gives us that counter-attack capability that we currently kind of lack a bit because, up front, they're not the quickest or the most mobile. So, yes, I'll go with Bella this time, I think.
Tom?
I'm torn between 2. I'm torn between Rakim, Harper and Scott Hogan. I'm personally going to edge it to Scott Hogan because I'm just excited to see him come back because I don't think we've seen enough of him under Bowyer yet. And I want to see how he's changed as a player and what he's worked on and whether he can apply that to his game on a match day. So I think I'm certainly excited to see Scott Hogan the most if we can. Yeah. However, I do think Rakim Harper, it would be nice to see him get back into the side again, despite obviously, before he kind of dropped out onto the bench a bit, he played like 9 games on the spin or 10 games, something like that. I do think he's more than fit enough to get back into the squad. And he looked all right when he came on against Rotherham. So, hope to see more of him.
Well, you've nicked mine because I'm going to go Harper. I just think the turgid midfield is nauseating. I'll give him it against Rotherham. It was a massive game. We got the result we wanted and the points we wanted. And I think now's time to maybe give Gardner that more sort of defensive role if he's going to play a two, and let Harper come in and do his bit, and hopefully get Bella on the ball and Sanchez on the ball if they're going to play. Okay. We probably, not that it really affects us too much, but I think before we sign off, obviously some interesting developments in the world of football over the 24 hours. And to be fair, even the fucking hour and a half been on the pod, something's probably happened. So with the developments with this European Super League, I will open up with you, Carl. Just give me your thoughts, and it doesn't have to be a fucking, a Gary Neville tirade.
Are you sure?
Just from a Blues point of view and your own personal point of view, what were your thoughts when you heard it break?
I've said it on multiple things across Twitter. I've fucking reshared things, retweeted shit, and all kinds of stuff over the last 24 hours. I'm disgusted. I won't go quite Gary Neville level of emotion and fucking passion, but I think it's disgusting, to be honest. I think it's a slap in the face to everyone who isn't in that big six, Spurs, Arsenal, who, the dream is to play in the Premier League, and then once you've played in the Premier League, the dream is to break into the top 10 and then push away like Leicester. How can these clubs who have played in these leagues for 100 and whatever fucking year, 200 years, whatever it is, kind of thing, now turn their back on everything they've done, everything they've worked for, claim that they're community clubs and how much they've missed fucking fans, when actually, when Arsenal were furloughing and fucking firing people in the summer, they were negotiating this 300 billion, whatever it is. Nah, sorry, that's just fucking wrong. It's just disgusting. I'm not ashamed to be a football fan, to be honest, because it's not our fucking fault, obviously. No. But you just look at it and you just think, how on earth can you place that amount of money over essentially what is a game for millions of people in the UK and Europe, let alone around the world? It's just, and it will, shockwaves will be felt all the way through the divisions, all the way down to probably not quite at grassroots level, but certainly the non-league sort of down to step 5, 6, 7. It's going to be felt everywhere because, it's just, fucking outrageous, to be perfectly honest. And I just think that it just proves that all these owners think about is money. They're trying to run it like an NFL franchise, effectively. And that's all they care about. Us for Blues, I think Tom said before we came on, we're closer to Champions League football. So maybe we should not give Dong some shit for that. He's keeping his promise. I guess you've just got to see where the chips fall on this. For us, I guess it would affect things like payments and teams going out of this. If they do ban all 6 from all competition, the leagues will look very different next year. And we could end up finishing fucking 10th in the league this season or whatever. But I think it's a disgrace, and I think there's going to be a lot more to come out about it. And I think, I think Gary Neville has hit the nail on the head. If you got something to say about it, get on it. Let's protest it. Let's show them that fans really can fucking do things and care. Don't hide behind the fact that we can't get into the grounds. Let's do something about it. But it's quite hard, I think, for us because we're not directly affected, but we are, and it's obviously there's still a lot of more information to come out. Tom, just your thoughts on it?
Well, I will probably go a bit Gary Neville on you, to be honest, lads. Not going to lie. I think it's fucking despicable. It makes me feel sick. It's years and years and years and years of beautiful history being flushed down the toilet like it means nothing. And it's by people who don't give a shit about the sport. They couldn't care less what happens. They just care about making a few more billions, and that appears to be the point. But not being funny, you're not going to make that money if you ain't got any fucking fans watching it. And at this point, it feels like the whole world is just against this plot. So I don't know where they're going to get the fans from. And with players being told that they will be banned from competitions like the World Cup, the Euros, they won't be able to represent their country. So how do you think all those players are going to feel in those big six clubs that they're being told that all these wonderful things that they'll have grown up dreaming of are going to be stripped away from them? And I think that's the key. Fans protesting is needed, but if players turn on the clubs, that's even bigger. And I do think that there's every chance that could happen. I think a lot of people internally in those clubs are turning against the club. I've just read, Jurgen Klopp knew nothing about it, and he's still opposed to the European Super League. Mourinho refused to have his players train due to the news, and there's been sacked for it. So, and I like what Leeds have done. They've made all their players wear T-shirts before the game with a Champions League logo, and then underneath it says "Earn It," and then on the back it says "Football is for the fans," which is what it is. And I think I love the Leeds owner. He's very, very passionate and enjoys football, and it's rare you get that anymore, because unfortunately the people who can afford to run a football club don't love football. And unfortunately, that is the case, especially for those big six clubs. And for me, there's so much. I feel like they have more to lose right now, and they're not quite seeing it. They're saying they don't care about the bad PR. They're sticking with their guns. But I think as soon as one club pulls out at the 11th hour, the rest will follow. And at this rate, I do feel like that's the direction it's going to go in. Because they're being stripped of so much now. But there are a lot of snakes behind the scenes, from what it sounds like. And it just shows that they don't give a shit about the fans. And I'm so happy to see fans already responding with this massive backlash, but also a few protesting as well. And I think the protests will only get bigger the longer this facade goes on. So we'll see, but they're all talking. Obviously, there's going to be a meeting with the other 14 Premier League clubs tomorrow. I think that'll be crucial. How that goes ahead, and I do think those big six clubs will be given a deadline to sort their shit. And I've heard people say, things will be stripped of them starting Friday if they don't, turn things around. And I'm just delighted to see clubs like Dortmund and Bayern Munich and PSG all sticking by their country and by their fans, and not turning against this and just joining the billionaire bandwagon, because they care. Because they're passionate clubs that do get the fans involved. And it was nice to see that the government believe that football fans in England should be more involved with their football clubs than they are, which I think would be good. And obviously Bojo finally saying something useful for a change, saying that he might actually try and stop the European Super League. I don't know how he's going to do that, but every little helps, I suppose, if you want to chuck the Tesco thing in there. But no, I think it's disgusting overall. And I really do believe with the power of the football world uniting together, we can put a stop to this. We just have to do everything possible and throw everything at them. And you're not seeing many people agreeing to it. I think I've only seen one person agree with it, and that's Stephen fucking Bywater. And I doubt many people remember him, just a clueless goalkeeper who rotted away at Burton Albion and was just a shit league camp. That is the best way to sum up Stephen Bywater, a shit league camp.
You don't want that on your gravestone, do you? Fucking hell. I guess for what it's worth, I think, yeah, they've already come out and said the fans don't mean anything, pretty much. And I honestly believe that the majority of these clubs, as soon as the announcement came out, they knew this was going to happen. This can't be a surprise to anybody. And I think what we've got to bear in mind is it's a big world out there. And yeah, I would say that those sides that are involved will probably lose, maybe half of their fan base within their countries. They'll move on to other clubs. They'll make a stand. There'll always be fans that just say, fuck it, it's my club, I don't give a shit. And a few that will laud it, saying, within the biggest league in the land and fucking this, that and the other. But there's a lot of people in China and the Middle East and fucking all corners of the world that have got Netflix that will want to watch this football that allegedly, the biggest sort of, I guess the big show, as they call, the Major League Baseball. And I think, look at what happened. I said to Carl before we came on, who'd have thought that players in their prime would have gone to China to play in a fucking pub league. It's already happened. It's already fucking happened. So from my point of view, and it's selfish, I've listened to a lot of the fans from these fucking sides, revel in supporting, the best of the best of the best, money coming out of the fucking ears, entitlement to winning trophies, blah, blah, blah. Well, have 5 minutes in our fucking shoes now. But the reality is, football, it's not about the fans anymore. We know that. I refer you to a plane that flew over a fucking stadium a couple of weeks ago. And I just think that, Man United have been through it. When the Glazers went in, they formed a new club. Unfortunately, when you have owners like this, and I'd put us, if we were successful, do you honestly think that our fucking board would think twice about getting us involved in this league?
I think if we were a successful club, they'd have fucking agreed to it.
Absolutely. The only people that are moaning, and PSG and the rest of them, they can't join it. They can't. They physically, legally can't do it. So they're in a position of that, because they can't join it legally, then they're sort of fucked. So yeah, don't agree it, and they take the moral high ground. But unfortunately, money talks. It always has done. When the Premiership was formed, a lot of things changed, and when you're paying, bang average players 70, 80, 90,000 quid, unfortunately, this has just been created. And I hope those honest, I class the proper supporters of these top six sides. I'm with you, Tom. I hope they do protest. I hope they do get on the front foot. I hope they do support their club and, sort of fight the battle of what is a complete injustice. But, speak to Bury fans.
True. It's funny you mentioned China, though, because realistically, all those players that don't want to be part of the Super League, there's not many Premier League clubs that'll be able to afford those wages at all. Not at all. You look at Leicester, and that's probably about it, in all honesty, that could afford the wages of, say, if Harry Kane didn't want to be in the European Super League, so he left Spurs. The only place these big name players can go is fucking China.
Yeah,
because
this won't be a 12-team league. It will be franchises that come out of nowhere and players that are just, flown in from God knows where on tons of money. And it'll just be, it's just a circus.
It'll be an NFL for actual football, won't it? Effectively,
yeah, it will.
I think. Anybody that's watched is a great series on American TV called 30 for 30, and it's loads of documentaries about things that have happened in sport. Indianapolis Colts in the 80s, one of the biggest sides in the NFL, the franchise owners did a fucking midnight flit to Baltimore. And there was no club left. There was no club. None of the employees knew. Nobody knew. They just moved the fucking place. And everybody's been saying, even Chelsea, you've got Buck who's like pulling the strings there. Liverpool owned by Americans. United owned by Americans. City probably influenced a decent amount. It's unfortunate that nothing is forever, is it? It just isn't. And change always does come. I just don't think anybody appreciated that it was going to come to this degree. I'm baffled by it. But having said that, I'm glad we beat fucking Rotherham 1-0.
Yep.
Simple as that. Simple as that. And it's horrible. But I'm very much realistic enough to know that if we were in the top four, we'd be fucking sold. We'd be sold down the river. So for once, I'm glad that we are where we are and we've still got a club. But
exactly.
But even then, I guess all joking aside, we all support teams. We all know what it means. And, I just hope that there is a change of tack. I just don't think there will be. But there we go.
They want to start in August, so it's clearly a planned, very much a planned proceeding.
Oh, Christ. Just wait. It's just going to be like we're beginning of May. Amazon will sort of announce their new sports package with the new league in. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
I ain't fucking paying it.
No, absolutely not. Right then, on that rather sour note, Carl, thank you very much for your contributions, my friend.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks as ever, lads. Always fun.
Top man. And Tom, cheers, buddy. And yeah, thanks as ever for your contributions.
No worries, mate. Pleasure as always to chat with you guys. And just to cheer up everyone, we won 1-0 against Rotherham. Get
the fuck in.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to the next game. As ever, let's hope we can just get that final win that gives us that sort of breathing space. I think we're pretty much there, but over 50 points will definitely do a job. So, yeah, be interested to see the side he picks. And we'll come back to you to hopefully talk about another victory, which seems to be a common theme at the moment. But between now and then, stay safe and keep right on.